that America will become a land sharing the fruits of the land, not for the favored few, not to satisfy greed, but that all may live in a land in which the Lord has provided an abundance sufficient for the luxury and convenience of the people in general, I think.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the ghost of Smedley Butler. I'm here with the ghost of Judge James Horton, and we are the Yellowhammers. How you doing, Judge?
Oh, I'm great if this weather won't blow us away.
You might hear the tree outside banging against the door because the winds, they are a-howling.
They are, and Yellowhammer Studios, they are not immune.
They are not immune to the weather outside. But what are we talking about today, Judge? Because there's a lot going on in the world.
God almighty, where do we start? We've got tariffs. We've got the fallout that's going to have on the American agricultural industry, and specifically the agricultural industry in Alabama. You know, that's where we make our bread. And then we've got the destruction of the Western Order and the arrival of...
Yeah, but what about Melania coin?
Oh, God. Is that another grift coin?
It's gone and went. Like, they've already rugged.
It's already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the...
well, we're getting a strategic Bitcoin reserve, speaking of rug pulls.
Before we get into all that, we have to go back to our called shot section.
About the Doge Depression?
About the Gaza ceasefire.
Yeah.
The Gaza ceasefire has now been disposed of. It's off. The Palestinians on the Gaza Strip are saying that the Israelis are not honoring it. Additionally, the Israelis have now rolled tanks into the West Bank, which doesn't make sense.
The West Bank was not the problem. And then Israeli ministers that are pretty high up in the Netanyahu government have announced that the displaced Palestinians in the West Bank will not be allowed to return to the areas that they've been displaced from, which, as we pointed out weeks ago, was the goal the entire time.
Right. It was a land grab, and they've executed it, and now we're just waiting for Trump Tower to go up in the Gaza Strip.
Right. Mar-a-Lago East, as it were.
Mar-a-Lago Middle East.
Nice. But so that's that called section, and since our Doge Depression episode, I think the stock market's down about 2,000 points, the Dow is.
Well, that's what happens when you actually do the thing you told the American people that you were going to do.
And nobody believed that you were actually going to do.
Yep. Because
it was that stupid, but you did it anyway.
Yep. Nah, he'll never do that. He did it. The people that voted for the leopards eating face party are shocked that the leopards ate their face.
Right. You know, you always think the leopard's going to eat someone else's face until it's yours on the menu.
Let's talk about tariffs first.
Let's do it. That's the most Alabama-centric issue that we're going to cover. And so there are three main targets of tariffs at the moment. We've got China.
Right.
We've got Mexico. And we've got Canada, our friendly neighbors to the north. So
do we need to stock up on our own maple reserve?
You know, I am concerned about this country's strategic maple reserve. You know, these are the hard-hitting questions that need to be asked. We need to be in the White House press pool.
Well, yes. We also need there's a great movie called Canadian Bacon, which is phenomenal, which has a fantastic premise in which the president creates a wag the dog type situation where he wants to invade Canada to boost his approval ratings.
How funny is it that like what used to could only happen in the realm of comedy is now being talked about?
I mean, they had Kevin Pollak on there as press secretary, and he's talking about 95% of their population is amassed on our borders.
By default.
By default, yeah.
Yeah. So question, you know, since we're talking about the Canadians, do they call Canadian bacon just bacon in Canada?
It's circle cut bacon.
Circle cut bacon?
Yeah. Well, circle cut my bacon.
Is it really?
Hello, neighborino to the north.
I'll be damned. Anyway, so the friendly neighbors to the north. We'll start with them because they've been on the news today.
Hey, congratulations for them winning the Nations Cup and
beating our ass in hockey.
Yeah.
That wasn't unexpected, if we're being honest.
We don't. Half the American population doesn't do well in ice.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Hockey's the one sport I got nothing for.
Yeah. I like the fighting. The fighting's real fun. But it's what, you know, the up and down and the offsides rule, I don't get. But, you know, it is a fun sport to watch when
it's fast paced.
Yeah.
It is that.
And I like it because it's in the summer and you get to go inside and cool off.
You know, that is a redeeming quality. But back to tariffs. So we have 25% across the board tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, which, by the way, is a violation of the trade agreement negotiated a few years ago by whom?
Trump.
Right. So you take that ridiculousness off the table, and okay, we got tariffs. Let me ask you this, General. What's the impact on the average person? Like, what should we expect to see from tariffs? Are we seeing some massive windfall to the federal government, or how is it going to affect us?
Your inflation.
Right.
You're expecting to see the price of goods go up across the board because we're not able to get them cheaper from overseas.
Well, and there's also the pass-through effect of tariffs. Like, people think that, the tariff is paid by the company, and either the other country's paying it or the company's paying it. No. They're going to protect those profit margins that they're giving to the shareholders.
They have to, because Wall Street demands those profit margins stay as they are.
They do. Think about the shareholders.
Think about the shareholders, Judge.
So when we talk about, they're not going to pass that cost. The company's not going to eat that cost. They're going to pass it on to the consumer, the average person.
Well, that's the same argument insurance companies make for tort reform.
That they pass it on?
Yeah, they have to. I mean, there's so many lawsuits by these blood-sucking lawyers that they have to, pass these on to the consumer to cover that while they keep CEO pay extremely high.
And what would your response to that be?
Insurance companies are evil and shouldn't exist.
Right. Fuck them.
Fuck them.
But so we have this 25% across the board tariffs, which raises the question, okay, if goods that come from Canada or Mexico, and we'll get to China in a second, are going to be taxed at a 25% rate as they come into the country, what is that? Like, what is it going to hit? And do you know what the biggest one for me that scares the shit out of me for both the United States as a whole, but more specifically our great state of Alabama?
Well, we grow a lot of timber, so I think timber exports aren't nearly as high because they're mostly used for local construction.
Right. And Canada's got a shitload of trees.
Canada's got trees too. I would have to say another agricultural product. You're looking at, cotton is not as big as in Alabama anymore, but I know soybeans are up there, and maybe Peanuts, yeah.
So I would have said the same thing about cotton a minute ago that you just said, but turns out we're still the country's second largest producer of cotton.
Cotton's making a comeback.
Yeah, okay. I mean, so much for the boll weevil, right?
Yeah.
So
thank you, Eli Whitney.
We produce. Alabama is still largely an agrarian economy.
Right.
Take Huntsville out of the equation, take the Hyundai plant, and some of these other manufacturers out of the equation. UAB. We're an agricultural economy. And so we get, as a country, 80% of our fertilizer from Canada.
We get 80% from Canada?
80% from Canada.
That's gonna really hurt.
And we're going to see that in the grocery store.
Yeah.
We're going to see that on the restaurant menu.
Well, I mean, we're dealing with egg prices increasing right now
through the roof.
Bird flu.
Bird flu.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny that now all of a sudden people are willing to acknowledge the causes of inflation outside of individuals, but I digress. Anyways, so we've got a situation where the inputs, because agriculture inputs are what? They're seed, they are fertilizer, they are fuel, and they're equipment.
Right.
Right? And then land, of course, but that goes without saying. So if we're increasing, and that's not even to touch the aluminum and steel tariffs that are going to affect farm equipment. But off one of the basic inputs, we're slapping a 25% surcharge on off the top. Where's that getting passed along to?
It's getting passed on to every small business farm owner in the state of Alabama, and they are about to get
hammered, crushed. They're already out farm subsidy money that was in the Inflation Reduction Act. They're already missing that. Have you seen these TikTok videos with the pissed off farmers all over the country?
Oh, yeah, those have been fun to watch.
Yeah, I voted for Trump, and I can't believe it.
Well, you should have. He told you exactly what he was going to do.
Let's.
I do think the average Alabamian and the average American has been very complacent when it comes to politics, and we've allowed the current state of politics to turn into entertainment. which it shouldn't be. It should be about honor and dignity, doing the right thing, and helping your constituents, which is why we two are here.
Right.
Because
it's not a football game.
No.
We're not rooting for a team and like, fuck everybody else. I like my team. It's not tribalism. We all want to get to the same place. It just takes a little reason and logic to cut through the bullshit that you're constantly being fed.
And it's on purpose, and it's done completely to warp your mind 24 hours a day. If you watch Fox News, MSNBC,
it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, everything on TikTok, everything on Google, that's been shoved down our faces.
Yep.
And I'm almost of the opinion that that the Democrats and the Republican Party are working for the same goal, and that's to screw over the average American, because the Democrats have been incompetent for 20 years.
They have.
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I think they're getting just as much money and influence from billionaires as the Republicans, and they're, quote unquote, the opposition. But if they roll over,
they're not opposing real damn hard.
I haven't seen them oppose jack shit.
Outside of the people that you don't, so there are certain Democratic lawmakers that the mainstream of the Democratic Party does not like.
Your Bernie Sanders, your AOCs.
Right. Your Ilhan Omars.
Yeah.
Those are the people that truly are not beholding to special interest. And you want to know why they're so desperate to keep them out of leadership positions?
Because they can't control them.
Right. Do you want to know why both conservative and quote-unquote liberal media, which I don't truly believe it's liberal, media...
It's all corporate media.
It's all corporate media.
There's no left or right.
100%.
It's all corporate media.
It's all billionaire media is what it is. And I hate to put in this. It is an us versus them at this point in this stage of American society and late-stage capitalism. It is us versus the billionaires.
Well,
and the only way they don't lose that fight is to keep us fighting each other.
Right. If we actually got together and tried to build a better society just for, let's say, the greater Birmingham area, we could do that, and they couldn't stop us. Now, the issue when it comes to tariffs is that the average Alabamian is not going to understand why everything went to shit so fast.
Right.
So, and there's going to be a lot of blame to go around, and they're going to call it the Joe Biden economy or whatever. You know, Trump's been in office 45 days, and the stock market's already running.
It's in the crapper.
Yeah.
Consumer sentiment is down. Layoffs are happening. Massive government cuts. And the thing that people don't understand about that is it reverberates through the economy. Not only are you cutting that, but you're cutting the amount of money. So we talked about it last episode, the velocity of the dollar.
Right.
Which was such a good term you coined there. And I'm going to give you credit for it, even though you probably stole it from somebody.
I read it like it's economics.
It's a thing.
You know.
So we always called that the consumption function in macro. But regardless, the average American spends 70 cents of every dollar that they make.
Yeah. They have to.
And then of that 70 cents, 70% gets spent. And then of that 70%, 70% gets spent. So when we take away one of these government employment positions, we're taking away that downstream ripple effect of them spending that money into the economy. And so that's another major concern for me with all these private sector layoffs, with the federal government layoffs. That ripple effect of that money continuing to work its way.
It's a massive pool of people that don't have jobs.
That don't have jobs, don't have money to spend, and the velocity of money circulating in this economy is about to fall off an effing cliff.
It's not going to fall off. It's going to seize up.
Yep.
Because you're going to have the same issues that we're going to have.
This episode is brought to you by Miller Lite. They're seriously not a sponsor. Please don't sue us.
Cheers, Judge. The economics that are about to unfold are going to be similar to 2008 in the fact that you're going to have people defaulting on mortgages because people were already hurting from COVID.
Yeah.
And I think they've been living on, paycheck to paycheck for a while.
What happens when 2008 happens without a social safety net?
It's going to be worse.
1929?
See, here's the scary part. I think they're trying to do this on purpose.
I do too.
When they, I mean Elon and
The billionaires.
Yes.
They want to devalue the cost of labor.
Yes.
They want to lower the cost of their inputs.
And they also want to crash the economy, get another bailout, and just completely squash every American that's not making over $10 billion a year.
Hell yeah! Look at the tax plan. Our taxes are going up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's costing more for us to live, and that's rent. I mean, good luck owning anything.
Which brings it full circle.
Yeah.
To the cost of food. Outside of rent, it's the average American family's largest expense every month.
Yeah.
And it's about to go up exponentially. And so those inputs are going to hit Alabama farmers like you talked about.
Well, a lot of these tech billionaires that are now think they've got their captains of industry are trying to create a world where you own nothing and you rent everything.
Right. You lease it. You license it.
Your music's going to be like that. Your television, your phone, your housing.
Because, if you buy it from them, you pay them one time. If you lease it from them, you pay them every
forever.
month.
Yeah.
It's like, and this will resonate with everybody. It used to be that you could buy Adobe and have all the tools to work on your PDFs. These days, no matter what happens, I pay Adobe $20 a month to read an effing PDF.
Oh, and they make your previous purchase obsolete, so you can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
It's a
they don't
feature,
support
not a
it
bug.
anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let's bring this back to the Alabama farmers. So we have the increased fertilizer cost, which is brought to them. We have the reduction of the Inflation Reduction Act money that they were receiving. God knows where we're looking at with the, Department of Agriculture and how that's going to affect things downstream. But then you've got the fact that Alabama's largest exports, and indeed the largest exports in the United States, are agriculture.
We are the breadbasket of the world. And so take the West Alabama, and I didn't know any of this until literally a few minutes before we sat down. But West Alabama did like a breakdown of our exports. 19% of what our state exports goes to Canada. They're boycotting not anymore.
Not anymore, don't. They're boycotting the shit out of our things. 12.1% goes to Mexico. 14.3% to China. So you put those together, and we are running at well over a third of our total exports are going to countries that have embargoed or have tariffed, have boycotted, have embargoed the United States to some extent. And China's tariffs were specifically targeted. Ask me what?
What?
Soybeans.
So China's specifically targeting the South.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a reason they're targeting agricultural products, because that's where they can hurt us. And the most ironic thing for me, and here's what I want your thoughts on, is what I would call the great betrayal. I come from a long line of farmers. To this day, my dad's a farmer. Those are the people that elected Donald Trump. It's not the tech bros, because there are so few of them. Don't get me wrong, they put their finger on the scale and they tipped it. But what elected Donald Trump was running up 85% to 15% in Coleman County. That's what elected Donald Trump. It's these rural agricultural districts that came out in a fucking landslide for the man. And he's betrayed those people.
Well, he's betrayed every person that invested in any project he's ever had since 1980.
Yeah.
He's declared bankruptcy 5 times on all those products.
For
and all
me,
those investors.
this is the most egregious.
He rug pulled his own wife's coin. He had his own trading cards, like NFT. Donald Trump.
He rug pulls everybody. He's a shameless grifter.
Yes,
but this is the biggest betrayal for me, because and with certain allowances made for things, agriculture has been the backbone of America since the very beginning, right? With all of the problematic things that brought with it. This, honestly, for me, is the greatest political betrayal in American history. Is Donald Trump betraying the farmers
call it
that
a
put him
betrayal
there.
When he told you what he was going to do.
That's true. That's true. He told you to your face.
Yeah. I feel like this is the natural result of gerrymandering,
Yeah.
the natural result of a first past the post system that created two parties. I think Citizens United, the ability to funnel as much money into political campaigns as you could desire, because that's free speech for corporations, and corporations are people, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they suffer none of the same consequences like jail,
Death.
But yeah,
Fuck,
corporations
they don't
don't
have to pay
die.
taxes.
They live forever.
Right.
They're so it's all these things of like these little instances where the Supreme Court or Congress or the presidency did not do the honorable right thing with integrity. And they've added up and they've added up and they've added up. And now we're living in a time where the president can just kind of do whatever. Congress is not a check on it. The Supreme Court's not a check on it.
Because they don't want to be. They could be.
But then they'd have to have a backbone and actually stand for a policy.
Right.
And that's how you lose elections.
God forbid you stand for anything.
For your gerrymandered district. So
how do we account for for like the singularity of thought almost, like among these rural districts that are being screwed the hardest, but are among the most homogenous districts in the country?
Fox News.
Yeah.
I'd say Fox News. I'd say, the conservative talk radio sphere.
It's poison.
Yeah. It started in the 90s with Rush Limbaugh getting on the air and just straight up spewing hate. And because he was loud and smoked a cigar, people thought he was tough. And the left has done a terrible job of actually having...
The left sucks ass at media.
Yeah.
Holy God.
Yeah. Having somebody that looks like they can maybe win a fight on the air. Like, I love MSNBC and all their women, but you put 5 women up there against Sean Hannity next to each other. Like, the optics are the women are going to lose.
Hannity's going to shout him down.
Yes.
Right.
So, and the Democrats, once again, I think this is a feature, not a bug, have no way of fighting back. They're rolling over. There is no opposition. And it's my belief that now the Republicans and the Democrats are both fighting for the same thing, which is to destroy the average Alabamian.
So I would put it on slightly different terms, and I would say that they're beholden to the same people because of the role of money in nationwide elections. You can win a U.S. House race on limited money, on grassroots donations. It happens. It happened with AOC in the Bronx.
Right.
You cannot win, certainly a presidential election, with grassroots donations. You have to have billionaire support, or else you're just going to get out-mediated into oblivion. And I think it's an open question about whether or not you can even win a statewide election in any state without billionaire support.
Correct.
I mean, Elon Musk has his thumb on the scales on the Wisconsin Supreme Court right now, trying to tip that election, a state-level Supreme Court.
It's not just he's got his thumb on the scale as far when it comes to monetary donations.
Yeah.
He's got an entire weaponized social media platform that he can, manipulate thought in an area.
Yeah. Literally control what people think.
Yeah. Like I get to show what, I get to control what you see on a daily basis. That's a terrifyingly frightful
from the richest man in the world who also happens to be a narcissist with a full-blown personality disorder.
He's the richest man for now.
Right.
If Tesla keeps eating shit, he's going to have some trouble because he bought Twitter with Tesla stock.
Government's going to bail him out.
Yeah, but that's probably the plan.
Yeah, government's going to bail him out.
Probably the plan. It's sickening to see them rob the Treasury blind. And no one is calling them out.
So you said earlier that Democrats haven't done anything. What can they do? Because you don't really have any of the reins of power. So as far as traditional methods, of resistance, what do you have?
You put up bills that you know that are popular, make them shoot them down,
Yeah, and then talk about
and
it.
then talk about it. Yeah, and say, hey, we're trying. Like, we put this forward, they shot it down. We put this forward. We're gonna, hey, what do you want to see? Like, how can we help your lives better? Like, they can introduce a bill right now, to do some sort of domestic plan to fight the tariffs. I don't know what. Tariffs are in the executive branch, and that's a
Or hell, just relief for farmers.
right.
We're going to subsidize this 25% that you're about to eat on fertilizer
and
costs.
just put it forward, make the Republicans shoot it down, and then go to the farmers and say,
we tried to help.
look, we put it forward. They said no. Blame the person you voted for.
Well, Canada actually, as much as I hate to say it, I think the Canadian leadership has done a better job of speaking to the American people than the alleged opposition.
I agree.
I mean, Justin Trudeau today, speaking directly to the American people, saying, we consider you our friends to the South. We don't want you to hurt. We want to prosper together. Your president has done this to you.
We can also go into the whole Zelensky fiasco and all that, but
So,
in my opinion, the Trump administration, the Republican Party, and the billionaires that back them have betrayed U.S. foreign policy, have aligned themselves
with Russia
They just voted with Russia, North Korea, and Iran
on a UN resolution.
on a UN resolution.
That's the company we're keeping.
That's who we're going to buddy up to. Those are the people that are going to be our international friends.
And I'm excited to move on to that issue because, I mean, it's my bailiwick, right? But before we do, out of all the things that have happened so far, the most damaging thing to Alabama are the tariffs.
Oh, the tariffs are absolutely going to. Alabama, historically speaking, has been recession-proof,
Right, because of government money.
mainly because of government spending.
Because we're being propped up.
Yes, we are a taker state. We are not a maker state.
Yeah.
It costs more, I think, was it 1 point?
Whatever number that
anyway.
you found, right?
These tariffs are going to well, let's just put this in order. You're going to kill UAB by not funding all the research
Yeah.
they do. You're going to kill Huntsville by not funding them through government programs and Doge.
You're going to cripple the universities.
The universities have been crippled because Trump just recently came out and said he's not going to, no trainees.
And then what do we have left?
I'll tell you what we have
Agriculture, baby.
left, which is about to get waxed
Yeah.
by the tariffs. But
We got trees.
no. We have bathrooms that transsexuals can't go into. And that is
It's a paradise here.
the paradise.
I mean,
Going into a bathroom and seeing a trainee take a piss
you're protected from
terrifies me.
that here. I mean, not the economy.
Our great Senator Tommy Tuberville,
Thomas Wayne Tuberville.
who
I don't know
couldn't
that's
win
his
a
middle name.
national championship with Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams.
Although, I'm going to be honest with you, I feel bad for that
He got
04 team.
screwed, but whatever.
But I'm glad he got screwed in hindsight. Because how insufferable would it be if he'd won a national championship at Auburn?
God, that'd have been bad.
Yeah, honestly.
he'd have never been senator because he'd
They'd have hated him.
yeah.
And I tried to manipulate my Alabama-loving grandparents into not voting for him for that reason. I was like, you really going to vote for, they used to call him Tupperware.
Well,
I was like, you really going to vote for Tupperware?
he got on the news the other day and was talking about all these women and playing in men's sports and how, it's everywhere. We got to protect the women. And I was like,
Funny, I was down at the AHSAA basketball tournaments this weekend. You know what I didn't see one of?
a trainee out there playing.
Right. Not a single one. Such a problem. Anyway, so you combine all that, and it's going to be a particularly tough time for Alabama, but a particularly tough time for farmers who are the Republican base, and that's what's so messed up.
Any reaction from our elected leaders.
I hadn't seen anything from Terry Sewell, who's
Nothing
my
from
congressman.
Sewell. Nothing from
Congresswoman.
Katie Britt. Nothing from Tuberville. Gary Palmer's absent.
Katie Britt is the one I'm disappointed in. She was supposed to be this cut from the same cloth as Dick Shelby conservative.
Oh, the machine baby?
Yeah, we're like, if you don't agree with her, fine. I didn't agree with Shelby on everything, but he brought home the bacon.
I haven't seen her bring home anything.
All I've seen her is get in trouble for not backing Trump nominees.
Like, it's...
So we're in agreement about this being economic doomsday locally.
Yes. Absolutely. Every Alabamian will suffer
And let me tell you,
because of the decisions made in Capitol Hill.
farmers don't get rich. Farming is tough. That's why we have the Agricultural Adjustment Act. Like, what we have in America is more arable land than we have demand for agricultural products.
And you know where we usually ship them? Canada, Mexico.
That's true. But not anymore. So we go, because we've pissed off what ordinarily would have been two of our closest, most natural partners, the only two countries that we share space in the North American continent with.
Now, why do you think, like, what's your gut instinct on why we would turn on our longtime allies that we've been friends with since, I don't know, 1812?
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not, General. Fight against them at every turn because I think they're lazy explanations for what's going on. But it's not just our partners on the continent. It's the fact that we've been aligned with the Western European democratic order since the end of the Second World War. And then once the Soviet Union collapsed, we've been a hegemonic power since at least 1991.
Right.
So not only do we turn on the people that we're friends with on the continent, we forfeited our place as a world leader in everything.
Well, they're talking about pulling us out of NATO and the UN, two things we built.
Right. Well, you know, in Europe is talking about, like, the new German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, I think, is talking about how NATO's obsolete and they need a European NATO, a new security arrangement.
They can't trust America.
Because they can't trust America. That excludes the United States. So not only do we turn on Mexico and Canada.
I'm wondering right now if our, Five Eyes, the intelligence operation.
Oh, they're going to kick our ass out.
They're out. Yeah, we're out under this administration. Mm-hmm. I think we already had one. Yeah.
The fact that all these stable Western democracies that we've been allied with for 80 years are now in no uncertain terms talking about how the United States has switched sides
and aligned with the Russia.
With the Russians.
We're now a rogue nation.
Yes. We are the bad guys now. We are Russia. We are China. We are North Korea. We are Iran. We are enablers of what is effectively ethnic cleansing in Ukraine.
As long as you give our president money, you can do whatever the hell you want to.
Anything that you want to do. And that's what Putin's offering him. That's what the reports are, is Putin has offered Trump business opportunities in Russia. And that's for his cronies. That's for the billionaires buying access. That's not for us, General.
So he offered, he wanted to take every mineral in Ukraine for no assurances.
Yeah, like 50% and no security guarantees, which people need to know about the
Budapest Memorandum.
The Budapest Memorandum. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you.
The general over here
coming 3,
through 2, 1, hitting that 3.
Right. So
Alabama knows a little bit about that against Tennessee.
Oh, it hurt me. God. Anyway, so the Budapest Memorandum, where the United States, Russia, and in a different agreement, China, the United Kingdom, all agree with Ukraine that everybody's going to respect their sovereignty, and if they get invaded, we'll bail you out. We're all going to pony up
for
giving up nuclear weapons, the world's third largest nuclear arsenal. But the fact is, they didn't give them up. They could have stripped off one of the warheads, made it a dirty bomb, and been like, come get some.
Yep.
Right? They didn't.
Well, the Western alliances, not honoring that memorandum.
That's what's led to this.
It led every other country in the world to be like, I need nukes.
Yes. And so you asked me, why has Donald Trump turned on every single ally that we've had for the past 80 years? And before we even get to that, did you see how uncomfortable Marco Rubio was during the Ukraine meetings?
He looked a little weird.
He looked like he'd just been molested, is how he looked.
Well, when you sign up for it and you have to...
Rubio was pro-Ukraine. heavily pro-Ukraine.
Not anymore.
So was Walls, the other national security advisor. He got heavily pro-Ukraine. And they have sold their souls, my friend.
Does anyone actually stand on principle in Washington anymore?
No, they don't. Least of all Lindsey Graham. But
I'm waiting for somebody to stand on principle.
anybody.
Just one time. Just be like, fall on a sword.
Liz
like,
Cheney did. See where it got her.
Yeah.
Adam Kinzinger did. See where it got him.
Yeah. You get booted out of the party if you don't get along.
In political science, following to answer your question, in political science, the validity of a theory is directly correlated to its predictive value. How often is it right? How often does it predict someone's actions on the national, international level? The only thing that I can find that predicts Donald J. Trump's actions are that he is, in fact, Krasnov.
Right. They got compromat on him.
Yeah. That he's compromised by the Russians. That's the only thing that can explain his actions. Because it's not the actions of a Republican.
No.
Bush.
Or an American.
Reagan is doing somersaults in his grave right now.
Also, it was so, like, buying Trump is so cheap.
Huh.
So cheap. At least ask for, like, if you're going to betray the country and the Western world, at least ask for, like, $5 trillion or something like that. Like, no. You got a few hotels in on the Black Sea. You get a property development in Gaza. For
You get to build a tower in Moscow.
What the fuck? Like, at least have the balls to stand up and get the proper value for what you're selling everyone else out for.
And for those of you that didn't understand the Krasnov reference, there's been credible reporting out of major outlets that former KGB agents have come forward and said that Trump was compromised by the KGB in the 1980s.
Right.
And that he's been a Russian asset ever since.
He probably doesn't even realize I don't know.
Oh, he knows it.
Yeah.
He knows it.
Yeah.
Because you can't believe that he's that stupid, right, to think that these things are going to benefit average Americans.
I don't think he wants to benefit average Americans. I think he wants to benefit him and his family.
He does. He wants to benefit the billionaire class.
Yeah.
And it's about devaluing things so that your money goes further. Devaluing labor, devaluing property, devaluing the industrial inputs, land, labor, capital, all of it.
I don't think he's that smart. I think people around him like Musk are that smart that want to do that. I think, who's that PayPal guy that backed JD Vance?
Thiel.
Yeah, Peter Thiel. I think he's that smart, and he's pushing a lot of this bullshit. JD Vance acting like a little petulant child over there, being like, "You will respect the president."
You should have. Have you ever said thank you one time?
Oh my God, that was performative art, and that was an ambush for Zelensky.
100%.
So
this idea that Zelensky's done anything to cost himself U.S. aid is ridiculous. This was always the plan.
The good news is, I think it's too late for Russia. I think their economy is in such shits that there's no way for them to actually win this war without it imploding.
I actually think it's too late for everybody.
That too.
If that makes sense. I think it's too late for the Western Alliance. I think it barely survived Trump 1. It will not survive Trump 2. Because
hypothetically speaking, let Zelensky sign the deal, do peace, and then turn around and betray it like Trump did every other treaty we've had.
Right.
And just be like, fuck you.
Well,
what are you going to do about it?
Which I think was exactly the point. That's exactly why Zelensky's not willing to play ball there. Why would? Almost like it was your goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's too late for the American economy. It's too late for the federal bureaucracy. It's too late for checks and balances. It's too late for the Western Alliance. It's too late for American farmers.
Well,
it's too late for Russia and Ukraine, and it's also
politics is a dirty, dirty business.
Yeah, the dirtiest.
And good men and women do not want to do it, including us too.
Right.
We don't want to be here doing this podcast. We'd rather be playing video games and drinking beer.
God, I love video games and beer.
But we are going to sacrifice our time to try to bring back some honor and dignity into this godforsaken political sphere.
Because now's it. This is an inflection point in American history.
And if we can make Alabamians' lives just a little bit better and do self-impose party term limits,
Yeah.
be more responsive to the constituents, don't take big donations, kick out people that are pieces of shit,
Right.
and let's bring back some integrity to this nation. Because right now we're run by a bunch of fucking grifters that
Thieves.
whoever wins an election, it's open up the bank and let's see how much we can steal from the American people
In the next 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we are now as a nation.
This country is crying out for good men and women to stand up and pull it back from oblivion. And by God, it's time, because it's about to be too late for that.
I agree. So we're the judge and the general here. We're going to try to fight here in Alabama.
But we need your help.
We need your help. Get out there, spread the word, let everybody know. I think we're going to start coming out with some Yellowhammer merch.
We're going to start having some events, start doing some organizing.
Yeah, and let's just see if we can't get the snowball rolling in the right direction, because whatever we're doing right now between the Republicans and Democrats
Ain't working.
It is not working. So I guess that's going to be our sign off for today. Sorry for the storm. It's banging on our windows over here, but it's not as bad as the storm in America right now.
Right. I'd take this one every time. Have a good week, y'all.
Take care.